Hello there, and welcome to Change Your Thinking, Change Your Body. Today I'm so excited because my guest is author Wendy Higdon, and she's a best-selling author of, guess what? Change Your Mind, Change Your Body, How to Have Permanent Weight Loss, Success for a More Confident and Happier You. We're sisters from another mister, I think. It's awesome. She has been successfully managing her weight for the past 56 years. She has a passion for helping people, and she's a licensed marriage and family therapist practicing in San Marcos, California. Yay, California lady with me. And she cares about people who struggle with their weight. So we absolutely have a kinship here, I must say. Kindred spirits. Hi, Wendy. Welcome to today.
Hi, Lucia. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so honored and excited to see where this conversation will take us.
I am too. I am too. You know, when I saw your book on Amazon, because I was doing some research of my own, I was like, wait, I have to find this woman. I have to absolutely scope this woman out, and I need to talk to her because it was like everything I was reading, because I got a preview in Amazon, and I got to download your free gift. Thank you, and we'll talk about that later. Everything I was reading, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly this is exactly what I'm thinking. This is how I feel, and she's so spot on. Why did you write this book? Tell us.
Well, I've always struggled with my weight, and I went on my first diet at the age of 11, and anyone can lose weight on a diet, but I think what makes diets difficult are all the emotional struggles that go into it. And so that was kind of why I wanted to write the book, to address blaming and shaming and self-hatred and loathing, and when we disappoint ourselves, when we don't live up to our own expectations, that it ends up in self-loathing. And so that's what I wanted to address, because to me, that's the hard part of dieting. And so I wrote the book to be like a fireside chat, a warm conversation to encourage, educate, and inspire people.
I love it. And it does do that. I love the way you break it down, and we'll get a little bit into that too. And I have to say, just to echo what you said, when I was, gosh, now it's like 18 years, 16 years, 17 years, I lost 70 pounds. And it wasn't until I changed the way I was thinking and looking at food and my body and the thoughts in my head and all of that, that was so pivotal with a weight issues that I carried around for up and until, I think I was in my 40s when I did that. Not that anybody has to do the math now on how old I am. So, but nevertheless, it was pivotal and key. So I really appreciate that you recognize that too, and took the time to write a thoughtful book for us all.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and I know that you break down the book, and so, guide me a little bit here too. You have it in the P's, yeah? You have the problem, the process, the plan, and the promise. And I might be leaving some other things out because I'm due to get your book also. And so how, when you thought about how to lay this out, what, like the problem, talk a little bit about how you laid out that and why you came to the conclusion.
Yes. So we do have a problem. 2/3 of Americans are either overweight or obese. Those are not good numbers, and it affects their health and quality of life. We're killing ourselves with food. And sugar is contributing to that. It's very addicting, just like cocaine and heroin. When you grind the coca leaves into powder, it becomes cocaine, addicting. And same with heroin. It's ground from poppy plants, poppy seeds, which in and of themselves are fine. And so when we grind up sugar beets into a fine powder, it becomes addicting. And so our food is laced with sugar unless we eat, fresh fruits and vegetables, and shop the perimeter of the stores. We're going to find sugar in processed foods, so we can't get away from it. But we're still responsible to manage how we eat and how much we weigh and how we take care of our bodies. So we do a lot of rationalizing, and, we give ourselves a lot of excuses. And I have broken down the term rationalize into, I think you'll love this, I hope you will, rational lies.
Right.
We call rational
I love
lies.
you. I love you. Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. I understand that.
So we give ourselves permission to eat what we know we shouldn't.
Right.
And we make it okay. So we rationalize something we know we shouldn't do.
And then, to your point, here comes the self-loathing, the remorse, and it's this vicious cycle, right? Because
Yes.
because I know I just lied to myself, and now there's shame, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on. I love that. Rational. I'm lies. I'm using that. I'll give you the credit, but I'm using it when I can.
Yeah, rationalizing. So sometimes I'll catch myself, and if I do catch myself, I can ask myself, what lie am I telling myself? And so then when I realize I'm rationalizing, then I choose better.
Is it easy for you to grab that thought? And okay, so when we talk about the after, like right now, I'm not going, where's chocolate? I gotta have some chocolate. Right now, I feel very level-headed and, mature and all of that. Yet when the craving comes up and the thoughts get going and the talk in the back of the head goes, just go get it. Just go get it. We'll worry about it later. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What are some of the keys, some of the tools that you've used that we might be able to give the audience today? Like I understand, we get that let's stop and think about it. But when you're in those, the minute that it takes, and sometimes it's literally a minute, could be like an hour to compare, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it
Yeah.
feels like when you're trying to negotiate in your head
Yeah.
what's right, what's wrong, what's better for me, why I'm thinking this way, and all the things that need to come up. Right now, it's I want what I want when I want it. Let's go. I'm not thinking about it.
Well, actually, I was going to share the Stanford Marshmallow experiment a little later, but let's do it now. So
I didn't even know that. So bring it on. Go ahead.
bring it on. And we love
Maybe with a
marshmallows.
marshmallow, everybody's like, marshmallows, let's go.
Okay. So when I was working on my book, I remembered the Stanford Marshmallow experiment. So in the 60s and 70s, at Stanford, they did an experiment with 4-year-olds. And they sat them at a table with a marshmallow in front of each one of them. And they told them, you're nodding. Have you heard this?
Go ahead.
No. Yes.
I think go ahead. I think I have heard about this. Yeah.
Okay. So they put a marshmallow in front of each one, and they told them that they could have the marshmallow anytime that they wanted. But if they waited until they came back, they would get a second marshmallow. And they didn't tell the 4-year-olds that it would be 15 minutes, which is a long time for a 4-year-old. And so they found that about half of them ate the marshmallow and the other half waited. And what the other half did in waiting was they found distraction techniques of hiding under the table, singing silly songs, covering their eyes, seeing the marshmallow as a cotton ball so they wouldn't be tempted. And so they came up with ways to manage the temptation. And so what is so great about this experiment is it's a longitudinal study. So they followed these kids over the next 30, 40 years. And what they found was that those who had waited for the second marshmallow, they had delayed their short-term gratification, that they had higher test scores, better marriages, fewer divorce, less problems with drugs and alcohol, happier marriages, and better jobs, higher paying jobs. And overall, they did much better than those who gave into their short-term gratification. So I like to think of it as, do I want my 1 marshmallow or do I want my 2? And the 1 marshmallow is, for me, giving in, and the 2 marshmallows is maintaining my weight and not, having to have that gratification.
So it's not too late, even though we didn't learn that or behave that way at 4. That's still something that we can learn.
Yes. we have to work at it, but yes, I don't think it's easy at 4 or any time. It's work whatever age we are.
Right, if that's what comes up, sure.
Yeah.
Which is a very interesting point, because I think even today, it always ends up working out to be about awareness, right? To be aware of what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and I like that. I'm gonna remember this marshmallow experiment the next time something comes up here, because I really work hard at maintaining that thought process, like what it is, why do you want this now, why is that such a driving force, like let's go and get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do manage to talk myself out of what do I want more, because I know what's coming. It's that talk, that self-loathing talk, that I would not talk to anybody that I loved so very dearly ever, ever. And I do it to myself every time. So that's
I know.
It's a key piece. And so, when we talk about the process of it all, is that where the title came in?
Absolutely. When I was writing the book, it was always in my subtitle. It was never the title. I had all kinds of crazy titles. But then halfway through the book, I thought, change your mind, change your body. That's it. That's the title. That's what the book is about.
Yeah.
And so that's how the title came to be.
I love that. And so when you talk about the process in the book, what exactly, if you can summarize or what's detailed in that part of it?
Yeah. So it's really about our thoughts. Our thoughts derail us all the time. And as you and I have been talking, our thoughts affect our feelings, affect our actions. And if you think of a couple of different examples of men that I'll share, suppose you had a businessman who believes that women are cheaters, and he comes home from a long trip and she's not there. And so he's angry. She's out cheating on me. I don't deserve this. He's really upset. He throws his suitcase down. He's throwing things around. And she comes in and he starts yelling at her and throwing her around. Well, his thought of women are cheaters led to his feelings of being angry, led to his actions of yelling and physical abuse.
And the outcome, which was not good.
Not good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that you took this out of the realm of food, so go on.
Right. And then take another businessman who believes women can be trusted. So he comes home from a long business trip. She's not there, and he thinks, well, she's probably out with her friends or shopping or running an errand. And so he unpacks happily. He puts on happy music and is unpacking, and she comes home. And he stops what he's doing and he gives her a hug and a kiss and tells her how much he missed her. So his thought was women can be trusted. The feelings were he was happy to be home. And his actions were he unpacked happily and he greeted her with a hug and a kiss. So 2 different outcomes, but the same scenario.
Same scenario. Different
different beliefs. Yeah.
I was just going to say that obviously we have to examine our belief system.
Exactly.
And recognize, first of all, realize what it is. And it's interesting because when you have such a powerful belief system and somebody tries to tell you differently, and I'm going to be very general, you say, you stand stoic to defending your belief, right?
Right.
Because I have proof, and here's why I believe it, because this is what's happened to me.
Yeah.
So making those changes are not always so easy. However, it's how's that working for you kind of thing, right? Go ahead.
But you've got to want to change. So the first gentleman with that belief system, I'm guessing he probably doesn't want to really change unless, he gets so tired of living that way that he would.
That is usually what happens, right? You keep tripping over.
The
same things keep coming into your life, and if and until, that's why I realize, and for me, I said this for myself, that I can either be the victor or the victim. It's not about things. So I changed the way I looked at this into
Exactly.
phrasing. I said, people and things are happening
Mm-hmm.
for me to grow. And so, looking at the realities of those and really trying to figure out my belief system and how much of it was reality and how much of it was a driving force that wasn't even reality. That's such a hard thing to do. But to your point, you really have to want to be so uncomfortable in the direction your life is going. And I have to tell you, a lot of people have been telling me that they're not happy with the direction that their life is going. And so the part of the process then, right, become,
Right.
how do I change that? How do I start? Because it's so powerful, what I feel and what I believe, right? Go on.
Right. Well, and the change won't happen until you're so sick to death of the way that you're living that you're willing to make the changes.
Yeah.
So I think it starts with examining our thoughts, as we just talked about, but we have so many negative thoughts
So many.
that we're not even aware of. And we have limiting beliefs we're not even aware of. And we have to challenge them. If we don't, they go into our schema.
Right.
And let me tell you a little bit about the schema.
Please.
So when I was in grad school, we learned about it, and we were told that it doesn't filter out what's true or not true. Whatever you tell your schema, and that's a fancy term for your subconscious way of thinking about yourself,
Yeah,
and
but
what you take in.
we could call it schema because we're calling our phone Siri. So call it schema. Go ahead.
Okay. So whatever we tell it is truth. So if we tell ourselves we're no good for nothing, it takes it in as truth.
Right.
Even though that it isn't true,
We haven't
it
proved
takes
it
it in as,
mm-hmm.
yeah. So let me give you an example. When I was 9 years old, I would say, I'm ugly. And it didn't feel very good. And I think I did it because I was chubby when no one else was, and I felt less than. And so that was maybe my perception that I was ugly.
Mm.
And so after a few weeks and months, it didn't feel very good. So I went back and I reframed it as, you're okay looking. And that felt better. And then a few weeks and months later, I reframed it again. And I said, you'll never probably be Miss America, but you can work with your looks and you can be attractive in your own way.
Mm.
And so that felt much better. And that was the end of it. But here I was only 9 or 10 and I was doing these things. And yet I could feel how much power it had over how I felt about myself.
I'm impressed actually that you kept at that and not the first thought. Usually we nurture that first thought because nobody's telling us, no. But
Yeah, it just didn't feel good.
I'm impressed with that you paid attention to that and made changes at 9. I'm really.
Yeah, well, thank you. So we create the results we believe we deserve.
Say that again.
Yes, I was actually going to.
Thank you.
We create the results we believe we deserve. So if we don't believe that we deserve good things, we won't go after them. Maybe we'll set a goal to go after them, but we'll sabotage ourselves because we don't really deserve it.
I have to take a whole pause on that and take a breath on that. I want people to just close their eyes and really think about what was just said there, because it's about your life. It's about life, not just the weight and everything else. That's the outer shell of what starts those thoughts, but that is such a powerful aha moment, if you will, because it's almost like, and I remembered having them and I went, oh my God, I really feel this way about myself. That's not even true. So I want us to all to just take a break and just absorb that, even if you have to rewind and play that again, because I think that that's important, because from that reality, now the doors will start to open.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go on, Wendy.
Yeah. So let me give you an example. of someone that I know. He had a horrible childhood, and he had an abusive nanny and parents who weren't even around. He was bullied on the playground, sustained a traumatic brain injury. Later in life, he finally got his bachelor's degree, but does not have a job that is equal to his degree. And so he is now working on changing how he sees himself so that his abilities, no, that his concept of himself will line up with his abilities and the trueness of who he really is. Mm-hmm. So he's doing that by looking at his strengths and positive affirmations. And so it'll be a work in progress, but he really wants to make the change. So I think that will serve him well. And yeah, so.
I know, I was just going to say that takes another moment of pause, because it is about how much pain, I'll quote that, are you in, and how willing are you to make the change to stop feeling that way. And that's oftentimes, that's been my life's work as a coach, because left unto ourselves, we're not always going to be accountable at every moment. We'll get that, I call it the honeymoon stage. The honeymoon stage where it's so uncomfortable that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to do it. And I hang in there with my motivation and my resolve. And then it quickly starts to fade. And then I don't hold myself accountable anymore. And, here we go. And everybody hopefully watching is going, that's me. I know it was me. And so it wasn't until I got myself an accountability partner, a coach, that I understood any of that, or just even when I was in union with community, that understood what I was thinking and what I was feeling. And I think that's half the battle, isn't it? Because when you think you're in a boat by yourself, rowing down a river all by yourself, that's never a good place. When it's like, get the oar. I used to say this all the time. Get the oar, jump in the boat, let's go. So if you're really committed to making those changes, because they can happen, that will happen. Yes?
Yes.
Great. Yes. Yeah, we're living proof that it happens. So it's here if you want it. Choose it. Because all of the things that we start to punch at the water, when you start to punch at the water, you never really, it's John Mayer's line, you never really get hit what you're hoping for, Sorry, John Mayer, that I just screwed up your lyrics, but so truly, I mean, it's kind of like that. You start punching at the water, and then you give up very quickly, because I always talk about it's uncomfortable, and it's comfortable in the discomfort. But I've been talking like this to myself, right? It's back here for how many years? A lot of years. So it's
absolutely
the pull to the familiar. And then, then here I go, give myself another layer of why I suck at this, right? So, and I'm like, wait, this hamster wheel I'm on has got to stop. So that accountability to a partner who believes in you, and whether, coach, whatever, that's my life's work in terms of that, because it's, it's getting out of the truth you think you're telling yourself when the reality is waiting for you. And that's why we end up with yo-yo dieting. I know you talk about yo-yo dieting in your book, right? And we end up with that. Let me try another thing, thinking it's the thing and the process. So talk a little bit about that, Wendy.
Yeah. So, that's not what we do after them. Diets will work. And even the people who yo-yo diet will say, oh, I've tried them all. I've lost the weight, but I've gained it back. So they know that the different programs will work. That was my premise is, do we start? Yeah. I mean, so and so they gain the weight back and then some. And so my premise is we begin to rationalize. We say that, well, this little bit won't hurt me since I don't have to be so restrictive as I'm losing the weight. I can have a little bit of this, and then it's a little bit of that. And before long, we're back in our old eating patterns. and we gain the weight back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so also, unless we change our body image in our heads, we'll go back to eating the way we were eating. And research has shown that people with a fat body image eat more than those who have a normal sized body image.
So how do I begin to change my body image in my head when, again, I've been telling myself that for years?
Yeah. So let me give you another example, and then I'll get into the how. When I was about 15, I had been looking in the mirror for about 3 years, seeing my slim self, but giving head knowledge to it. Yeah, I'm okay. But one day it clicked. You're not fat. I ran to my brother and I said, I'm not fat. And he looked at me like I was crazy.
All right.
And he said, of course you're not. And so he could see it. And I could see it in the mirror, but it hadn't resonated with me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when it finally did, I was then able to make choices accordingly because I wanted to maintain the body image that I now internalized and embraced. So it was embracing my new body image.
So how do I begin to embrace that? Did you have a process?
Yeah. Well, I don't actually have a process per se, but I think going back to my mirror example, and if we will look at, and the process of change is like working on our strengths and affirmations with, like you say, a coach or a buddy, an accountability buddy. Mm-hmm. So I believe that if we were to have affirmations daily that, we like our new body, we embrace our new body, we'll be kind to our new body, maybe in front of a mirror or with a self-talk buddy. A self-talk buddy enforces belief, and belief is really important. And maybe that's also what the mirror does as well. It reinforces belief in whatever it is we're telling ourselves. So I haven't tested this out, but I think that it wouldn't have to take 3 years if we would work on affirmations, either using a mirror or with a friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually did that process, and that really did help me turn things around. Even when I hear it again, and the thing that for me really works, because I wouldn't speak to anybody else like this. I look at her in the mirror and I say that she's your best friend. I look at her in the mirror, to be honest with you, and I see my little girl. And I talk to my little girl.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm a mother. So first of all, I understand what that's all about, though. And I recognized how I really needed to heal her, because it was around that stage that I started to talk like that to myself, and never, no one ever told me no. I don't think I even admitted it to anybody. So not that anybody knew to tell me no, that's not the way to think. That's of course not. You're this beautiful. I mean, I was such a personable, still am. I remembered myself at 5 years old. We moved to Long Island from Queens, and I sat at the end of the driveway. I can see exactly what I was wearing. Little yellow thing, little white piping. And I sat there and I was waiting for people to pass. And I said, hi, I'm Lucia. What's your name? And I was so personable, and yet started slowly to have this talk about body image. And because to this day, I'm very proud about how I feel very comfortable to talk to people. I could talk to a tree. Everybody that knows me goes, oh, you could talk to a rock, you'd be fine. And yet I'm having this other thought process, like it's not congruent to everything else, right? It just didn't make sense. So I pulled on that. This is the process. I used the things that I was most proud of for myself, the most things that I had gratitude for, and started to spill them into my body image.
Okay.
And it was a lot of work. It still is. It's always a work in progress,
And just as you talk to your daughter, I wonder what it would be like for you to talk to your old self at that age.
That is what I do. I try
Oh,
to connect.
okay.
That is what I've done. It was a process that I knew that I had to get there because and it was my process. I think some people make strides quicker, and yet I had to take a deeper dive into that. And I think it was for many other reasons. I think I realized I didn't trust myself,
Mm-hmm.
and the dieting process confirmed a lot of that. So when we talk about, abstaining from the chocolate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus running and hiding and taking it into my bedroom. I've said this before. I take it into my bedroom and now I'm hiding and eating it. And I'm like, and I'm still in the room, So I was lying to myself. And there was that whole other process of shame. So it wasn't lining up. And so I had to really recognize that. How long ago was it that I stopped trusting in myself?
Right.
And pretending and lying to myself and all of that, because it's just about me. It's not about anybody else. People should care as much as about that. I mean, I'm the one that needs to care that much. So, and that was the reality I came to.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I
And
think
each person's journey will be different. Some people, it may not take as long, and other people, it may take longer. So
that's right. Don't even throw that into the pot of judgment again. Like, oh, it's not even taking that quick. She went faster than I did. Everything, if you truly believe, and I'm a person of this, I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. And I really do. And the things that happen for me are for me to grow. And I also believe that if I've missed the message, it's coming again. So, and that's why I think my yo-yo diet, that's how I came to peace with my yo-yo dieting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't want to judge it anymore about how, you're not good at that and you give up on everything. And I would just have that other dialogue. And I thought, no, here's the learning here. What was it about that? So I think that you talk to that too in that. Well, what is the promise part of your book?
Well, it is basically what we've been talking about is changing your mindset. And when you do that, and going back to the yo-yo dieting, when we get down, a way to maintain is to think of, I want my 2 marshmallows. So it's like you make the choices accordingly. And so we talk about lifestyle change, but it's got to also include a mindset change. Right. It's not just about what we eat and exercise. And also I cover in the plan section, I don't give recipes. I don't tell people what to eat. That's for them to decide to take ownership of. But I do include sleep, stress, and exercise. And sleep is so important. We don't get enough sleep.
No.
Yeah. And it affects our hormones. So we have more ghrelin, which makes us hungry. We have less leptin, which makes us not feel full. So we eat more because we're hungry, and we keep eating because we don't feel full.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know. And we mitigate I've done it myself, so I'm not judging again. We mitigate the benefits, the tremendous benefits of sleeping.
Right.
And I always admire people who have a bedtime, even at whatever age they are, Yeah. I have a girlfriend, she's 68, she has bedtime and a rise time. And I try to keep to that. I keep to my rise time, my bedtime. My bedtime, to be very honest with you, goes like this, because I feel like I need to get in all those pieces. And then, I pull myself back because I realize I'm sacrificing the things that do keep me going.
Right.
To keep going. Right. So, right. I mean, that gets to be a vicious cycle then in that respect. So there are actually, I think there's a bunch of apps that talk about sleep. There was an app that I used very, very regularly. In fact, I just got back to it, where it tells me what time to go to bed. If you're going to get up at whatever time, it tells you, well, here's the hours you need. You know what I mean? So I love that the technology has afforded us, so much of, some practice that we can get into, even meditation. I'm doing a 1 minute meditating now because I didn't have time for more than that. So,
well, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to be a night owl. Oh my goodness. Terrible. But I changed. And part of changing was using the one marshmallow versus two. So I would see the effects of staying up, that short-term gratification, and then being so tired and unproductive the next day. So then I began setting my alarm and when I go to bed, and then have a much better day, because I chose to not have that short-term gratification of staying up. So I went to bed even though I wanted to stay up,
Yeah.
and then I had a better day.
Yeah, it's the same as anything though, right? It's like I want the cookie, but I want you right. So
Right.
Go to.
Yeah.
And I think that that's another key piece. Pay attention to how you're feeling with the choices. So when you go to bed early, as we're talking about sleep, when you go to bed early, recognize how you are feeling, because then it's just a choice.
Mm-hmm.
We are a product of the choices that we make.
Right. And then in light of that, we also have to manage our stress, because stress increases cortisol and we end up comfort eating because we're stressed.
Right.
And that's not a good thing.
It's not, and it's not an easy thing to do either. I think if the one thing, so what would you say is your takeaways? Because I was going to say about one thing for me, awareness is always key in anything that I do. I have to be aware of the behavior before I'm able to figure a solution. What would you say are some key takeaways before, while we're winding down this interview?
Yeah. Well, I think thinking of rationalizing as rationalize, not giving yourself permission.
I like that.
And then I really like the Stanford Marshmallow example, where do I want the one or do I want the two? So what are my goals? What am I really focusing on wanting? Do I want to give into that short-term gratification, or do I really want my goals and maintaining my weight? And then lastly, lifestyle change has to include a mindset change, because if we don't, we'll go back to the way that we were, and that includes making choices accordingly.
I call it a must.
Yeah.
I call it a must. I have certain musts in my life, and if I want to keep progressing, and if I don't want to feel, that bad about myself anymore, I have to make these decisions. So, and you have a free gift, and we have a little bit of I don't even want. Tell us about your free gift. Let's just talk about that. There's a couple of things that you have for it, right?
Okay, so I have a free companion journal that I wrote that goes along with the book. Actually, in the book, all the questions are in the book, so I took those questions out of the book and put it as a journal. So there's not the benefit of the book per se, but there's enough information and questions that it will give you a start on addressing some of these. And each chapter on sabotage and triggers, then I'll ask questions and you can list your triggers and what you're going to do instead. So it's kind of like a workbook. So it's should be quite helpful. So I've put it in two forms. It's you can download it in either the printable form and or the fillable form. So you can print it off or you can use it on your computer. So you have access to both of those.
Beautiful. It's a nice workbook. I
Yeah.
got it. I have it for myself.
Great. Yeah. And then the other thing is I am working on getting my print book up on Amazon. And when I do, I will have the ebook for free. But I've had free. Yes, free.
Oh, show us the cover. Did you show us the cover?
Oh, yes. Where'd it go? Let's see. Right there. That's the cover.
Back it up a little bit. We can see back it up a little bit.
Oh, back it up.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
So it shows these guys with their new body image, their new mindset. And that's what I wanted to talk about in the book. So I've had problems along the way with formatting in my cover, and things have taken a lot longer. So my goal is to have it up by the summit, but no guarantees. So you would just have to check it out on Amazon and see if it's free. And if it is, just click the link and there you go.
I'll make sure we keep reminding that at least they're going to get the journal, which is really very, very helpful. you can even, spot check the book on Amazon. So no worries. We'll just make sure that everybody knows to keep coming back, and
Okay, great.
we'll see that too. So, I also think that actually is the one thing that people can do for themselves today, is to just pay attention. And quite honestly, you can download that journal and start really paying attention to become aware of the thoughts that are in your head right now, and what one step could I do differently. Sometimes it's just make the decision to do that.
Mhm.
Just that, right? We get to, like, we make our goals have to be so grand that otherwise they're not worth having. And honestly, it's this one little decision that starts putting the foot in front of the other. And that's what I encourage all the time. So,
Yeah.
if anything, start writing down the thoughts that are in your head in terms of your image, your body image, your can-do spirit, where you are in the marshmallow theory of it all, right?
Mhm.
And
Exactly. Yes.
yeah, I could see myself as both of those children at different times of my life, you know.
Mhm.
So that, and quite honestly, that could be our code word. Every time I pass you on the street, I'll just say marshmallow.
There you go.
Wendy, you were a pleasure to speak to today. Thank you so much thank you for your thoughtfulness to write a book about it, and to share with many people. And now everyone that's watching today, I know, will benefit from your good nature in terms of wanting to help another. So I really appreciate that, and I'm very honored for you to have been on my summit, and that we were able to reach as many people as we did. This was very, very good, very good. So thank you so much.
Well, and,
I, I met a new friend. I feel like I have a sister down in you're down towards down south of me, and so it was
yeah. Well, and thank you so much for having me. And people can find me at www.wendyhigdon.com, or my email at wendy@wendyhigdon.com.
I'll
So,
have all the information in the daily email that they get, so they'll make sure that they find you. No worries.
okay, great, perfect.
Absolutely. Thank
So,
you so much.
well, thank you. It's been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to today's interview with Wendy. And I hope we gave you at least just one little thing that you could do differently today to move in the direction of the life that you want to be living. Yes. Love you. Much, much love to everyone. Bye-bye.